Welcome back in. What happened last night? Well, one of the big ones that we've had circled on the calendar for a while, the state of Pennsylvania, as you take a live look at Franklin, Pennsylvania. We are continuing our coverage of the midterm elections last night. Wasn't a red tsunami. Wasn't really even a red wave, but that could change over the next several days. Part of the problem, we don't have winners on election night anymore.
Right. We're still waiting for a number of results. Joining us now in studios, former Pennsylvania Senator, Senior Advisor for Convention of States and Newsmax contributor, Rick Santorum. Sir, thank you for joining us. I knew you were up late last night with everyone. Okay, so Pennsylvania, what happened?
In part, Trump happened. If you look at the two races, both candidates were there because of Donald Trump. One, Doug Mastriano, who sort of led the charge after the 2020 election in election denial. He was there in the not in the Capitol, but at the rally on January 6th. He ran a Senate committee. We're looking at investigating the election of 2020, and he rode that into winning the Republican primary with Trump's endorsement. And then Oz. I mean, Dr. Oz was not going to win that primary. Even though Trump endorsed him, he still was not going to win that primary. But Trump came in and just hammered down the opposition. You know, a Trump endorsement helps, but when Trump goes after you, it really hurts.
So let me ask you now, we can finally ask this question. Dr. Oz losing by right around 1 million votes in Pennsylvania. This shocked me as we went through the night last night. Would David McCormick, who Dr. Oz beat in that primary over the summer, does David McCormick beat John Fetterman? Is he a better candidate?
Here's the problem, and this is why I always question whether Oz could win or not, because at the end, you could see this, and when Trump went in and beat down McCormick and beat down Kathy Barnett, who was the other opponent, Dr. Oz was sitting at like 30% favorable and 50-some% negative among Republicans.
Right.
And so to look at that and say, how do you recover from that? Well, the problem is he never did. He never got his favorable numbers up above 40%.
Yeah.
You can't win an election if even your own party don't see you
the
as
biggest
favorable.
knock on him, though, is, McCormick was from my state of Connecticut. Oz might be from New Jersey. That was the knock. What about the Cole comments? What about that debate? Did early voting really doom Dr. Oz here in Pennsylvania?
Yes, a little bit. But again, only less than 15% of the vote was early voting. It was more. He got brutalized in primary. I think maybe the most expensive primary that happened. And then Fetterman came in, and the Democrats came in right after the primary. They had the money, and they just continued to beat him up. And he just never was able to recover. And I think that got sort of baked in. Everyone thought, oh, well, Fetterman is terrible. This comes back to the fact that the Republican and Democratic voters are big blocks. I say to have a wave, you need fluid, you need water.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And right now, both parties are big blocks of ice. And so you can't have much of a wave unless you have water. And there's not a lot of voters that are not sort of stuck in ice. And in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman solidified his base. And he never lost it because we being Republicans, didn't offer a vision as to why you should leave him. Other than, he's a bad guy, but there wasn't like, well, here's what we're going to do for you on this.
Right.
Here are you going. So there was no agenda. It was just negative on the other guy. It just didn't work. People didn't want to move.
The Dems dumped a ton of money into the Fetterman campaign. I mean, he was advertising all over the place. Did that play a big role in that?
First off, they spent a lot of money, again, beating up on Dr. Oz and driving home all the negatives that had been driven home for almost a year now. And Fetterman is he's a statewide elected official. He was elected before. He's someone that people know. He's got sort of a cult following. People thought he was.
Apparently.
He does. Yeah. He has a cult following there. His commercials are sort of clever. He has a lot of social media memes. He's an interesting guy, and people know him. And
he's an interesting guy with health problems. 6-year term in the Senate. There are rumors that he serves a couple of years. We've talked about this with Joe Biden, health problems, and maybe his wife Giselle. She's said before, she's been very open about this, that I'm the brains behind my husband. Does he make it 6 years in the Senate, or does he have to step down for health reasons? Because that was one of the big questions that I think Dr. Oz should have raised more throughout this campaign as a physician.
Yeah, I think that if you listen to the heart problems that he has a defibrillator, he has a pacemaker. He's someone who's got obviously very high risk of another stroke, a serious stroke. I know there are very strong rumors around the Capitol that the Democrats went to him after the primary and said, get out of the race. We'll just get someone else to Connor Lamb or somebody else to carry through.
He's laughing now.
And his response was, you put my wife in there, I'll do it.
Wow.
And they said no. And now you never know. I mean, he could make a deal with the governor, and if his health is struggling, the governor's a Democrat, and who knows what can happen from here on in.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
I thought Connor Lamb was central casting for this role as well.
Connor Lamb's I know Connor. He's a good guy. He's for Democrats today a moderate Democrat, but he can't. That's the problem with what's going on with both parties. Moderate or mainstream, if you will, Republicans and Democrats don't win primaries. It's the folks on the far end that are winning primaries these days.